We'll have every question ever answered, and we'll have all these different examples for you to chew on. And hopefully, this will scratch the itch and get things done in the meantime. All right, so over here we have a 1 and a 6. So we're going to keep the 6, discard the 1. So now it's 8 plus 4 is 12 versus 6 plus 4 is 10. So now that narrows the field, doesn't it? That's a much better, much smaller damage bonus than what it would have been if we had just rolled that 1 and had to keep it. So that extra D10 mattered. And usually that's the case. It's really pretty hard to nail somebody who's behind concealment and cover. And it becomes even more difficult if you're not shooting at full combat. If you're at long range and you're combat half. So imagine that 8 now being at 8 plus 2 instead of 8 plus 4. It makes a big damn difference. All right, so we've got 8 plus 4 is 12 versus 4 plus 6 and 10. So we got a plus 2 damage bonus that goes on to his 4 base damage for the gun. So now we're looking at a 6 damage check plus a 7. Here again, we've got the 4 con and the 3 tack suit, right? So we've got 6 and 7. Now, for the first time, the architect's actually in a favorable position. And of course, he's got to go roll a 2, like a complete douchebag. All right, so that's 2 plus 7 is 9, and 8 plus 6 is 14. 9 from 14, last I checked, is 5, and he has shot the dude and wounded him. Off the board he goes. All right, so to recap, we have covered how to make attack checks, how to make defense checks for range combat. We've talked about concealment, cover, line of sight, target priority, body proper. Now you know everything you need to know to fulfill your range combat actions. So let's take a look at what the hell these other two are. So let's go with mobile fire. So let's just pretend I can't see through this. This is complete impassable terrain. I can't see through it. I don't have a line of sight to Robot Man over here, but I want to shoot him in the head nonetheless. What do? I declare a mobile fire action. Ba-ba-da. So I declare my mobile fire action. I check to see if there's a break. No break. We're just going to do that for argument's sake and ease of play. No break. I now execute my action. I can move up to 6 inches, and of course that's in any direction I want, which I'm going to do right about here, because I don't want that dude running up on me if I don't shoot him down the first go. Boop. I'll move over there, and I'm still, with a 20-inch effective range on an assault rifle, I am still Bo Daddy right there to bust him in the face. So, let me scoop me back here so you can see me on the actual board. Aha! All right. The assault rifle has a 20-inch effective range, a 3 rate of fire, a 4 damage rating, and it has something called long arm, which means I have to use it with 2 hands, so I can't have 2 single-handed weapons and still use it in, drawn and ready to go. I've got to use both hands to fire that thing. And it's also got a special gear trait called rapid fire. Here's why. If this were a regular rifle that didn't have rapid fire, when I did my mobile fire action, the penalty, the thing that I suffer as a shooter when I move, is a sustained amount of fire. Because not, 1 D10 does not represent 1 shot. 1 D10 represents a good exchange of fire that we're putting down on people from these weapons. So, we'd leave it as an abstraction. It's not important. We don't count bullets and biscuits in this game. So it's not really important. But it is not just pew, pew, pew. It is a volley of fire that I'm laying down when I've got a high rate of fire weapon. So let's just pretend this is a regular rifle. Now I've got a rate of fire 2. But when I do a mobile fire action, the trade-off for shooting on the move is that I don't get to bring as many shots to bear on target. I've got some flying this way or that. So my stability is not that great. Therefore, I'm not throwing as much metal downstream. So I get a rate of fire penalty. Just killed a Ecotopian spy there with my finger. It's fantastic. Die bug die. So I gotta say it, the only good bug's dead bug said it. Okay. So here I am with a rate of fire 2, and my penalty is rate of fire half for mobile fire. So now I'm rolling 1 D10 instead of 2 D10. Now, let's go back to it being an assault rifle. That happens. I go from a 3 rate of fire, cut in half, rounded down, means I go to a 1 for a mobile fire action. And that really sucks. But because it's a rapid fire weapon and I'm spitting a lot of lead down range, we get to add 1 after the fact. So now I'm actually throwing 2 dice on the move. That's sweet sugar right there, guys. And you're going to love it because I'm about to shoot a robot with it. All right, this cat's in the open. Metal teabag in the wind. He's got 1 at combat half, so it's 2 at 1 versus my 2 at 4. All right, I've got a 2 and a 7 versus his 1. Sucks to be him. So he's got a combat rating of modified down to 2, so he's got a 3 total defense check. I'm dropping the 2, keeping the 7. 7 plus 4 is 11, so I'm 11 to 3. That's a plus 8 damage bonus to the base 4 damage, so I'm coming in with my damage check at a 12. And let's just give him, he's just a synthetic, let's call him a synthetic warrior, so he's got a 7 wound threshold, 7 plus. But let's give him piece metal armor, so he'll be a 2, and we'll give him a con of 5, just because he's a badass robot. So it'll be 5 plus 2 is a 7, so he'll have a 7 on one die, and we've got, what I say, 12 on the other. So let's see how this shakes out. All right, 7 plus 3 is a 10 total for his resistance check. 5 plus 12 is 17. Uh-oh, ruh-roh, that's 7 plus. So I didn't just shock him, I flat out wounded him. And that's how that goes. Wear better metal, robots. All right. That's mobile fire. Now, like I said before, you can also do the reverse. You can decide, hey, I want to shoot at the dude first and then move. And some of you are thinking, well, don't I get my full rate of fire? No. Because you're moving while you shoot. That's that. So whether you're standing and then moving, shooting and then moving, or moving and then shooting, it's the same penalty. So I'm still throwing 2 of my 3, and he's still defending on 1. Okay? Same stuff. All right. Take aim. Let's go back to this scenario. Bam, bam, bam. Blue dude behind blue box. Very hard for a robot to shoot. Pardon me. All right. I can sacrifice all of that standing and firing, or all of that moving and shooting, to just stand in place, take aim, and try and get a really good volley of shots right on the guy. And that's what we call a take aim action. So what you do is you're sacrificing your full rate of fire, in this case of, let me put it where you can see it again, in this case of 4d10. You're sacrificing that down to 1 shot, but you're adding plus 3 to your combat as a bonus. Okay? So now he's 1d10 plus 7 versus 4 at 4. And now we can argue until we all fall over and die of starvation as to what is the better math, multiple dice or a bonus on 1. You figure it out. Whatever you like best, that's your answer. I've got my answer, and I'm not telling. But anyway, you knock all that down, you get the plus 3 to hit, and as an astute reader will tell you, certain of the special ranged attack traits that allow you to do things like negate concealment or forget about that long range penalty you had only happen when you take aim action. It used to be, for those that are Brick of Battle alumni, used to be where that applied to a lot of other stuff, but for scrappers we have refined this game to be its best version of itself in its particular setting, and so that made the most sense to us in playtesting, was that those are now take aim only action bonuses. So in this case, we've got 1 d10 rolling in at a plus 3. So he's got 1 at 7 now, versus this guy's 2 at 4. Let's see how the math rolls out on this. All right. Oh, that's going to suck. Or is it? So 9 and 7. So we dropped the 7. Architect's got 9 plus 4 is 13. We've got a 10 plus 7. Well, that's a lucky answer. 10 plus 7, 17. So 17 to 13. He's up by 4. He's got 4 base for his damage, so that's an 8 to a 7 because of the tack suit and the con 4. And, oh, look at that, 8 to 7, he's shocked. All right, so there you have it. Those are the 3 ranged combat actions. All right, let's get back into the thicket now, and we're going to do close combat. hum a brief tune while I go get my beverage. Just remember, folks, Scrappers, like all great friendly games, goes much better with whiskey. All right, where's my Killjoy? Meet Killjoy. He's a colony feral. Those aren't circus colors. That's supposed to really be crimson and a, well, let's just call it Dunkelgelb. Unfortunately, it came out a little too bright, but he's a sociopathic mutant strider. So he has a 10-inch base move and a 14-inch hustle. He's a knife fighter, and he's a bad day for those he encounters. That's Killjoy. I'm going to take my synthetic robot man out, and I'm going to bring in, let's see. We'll bring in Killjoy's backup buddy here, his other alternate commander, who's got a great sword from Cromlech. You see that big beauty right there? On another colony feral, which are just, these are like spitting images of what I imagine for my Sons of Entropy mutants and true humans to be look like. So these Sons of Entropy are out here. They've caught young Architect all by his lonesome. We're going to give the Architect a knife, because if you don't buy at least a knife for your dudes in close combat, then don't cry to mama when the shit hits the fan. Just saying. We didn't have an instance when we did the range combat stuff to show you the gear checks, weapon gear checks, but we're going to get to that after this. But I want to show you the nuances of close combat and why this stuff can really kick butt. Or if done incorrectly, it can make you insane. So let's go ahead and turn some pages. Okay. See that? Close combat rules. Alright, so close combat, like all combat actions, follows the same attack substep, right? So we declare the action, we nominate the target. We declare the action and say who's doing it. We nominate the target, who becomes the defender. The attacker and defender labels are added. We then check for what? Line of sight, target priority, and range. Okay? Line of sight and target priority apply 100% to close combat charges, as they do any ranged attack action. Okay? So in this case, we've got lines of sight to both mutants have lines of sight to the true human, and we're going to get into the mix. Now, when we do the episode on scenery and terrain, you'll get the preview right now. Any obstacles, such as this case or crate, that are 1 inch or less in height are treated as open ground and can be moved over freely by any of the models on the table. So that's really there for concealment and cover purposes. It's not going to do much by way of actually slowing dudes down who want to come cut you. So let's just say, for argument's sake, we've got an action on each of these boys here, and we'll have an action on our Architect. Okay? And we're going to just, since we covered the edge and the break in the last video, we're going to go ahead and just skip that motion here. I'm just going to show you how basic close combat works, because we've got some new rules that are what you probably have encountered unlike anything else you've played. And that's because in the abstraction that is close combat with our static models, my attitude as a designer with Brink of Battle was, when two dudes fight, everybody gets hurt. Every fight I'd ever been as a kid, that was the case. I usually got hurt worse, but at least something happened in the exchange. Punching other people or swinging sticks or swords at other people usually means someone's swinging something back at you. So just keep that in mind. And you'll see how these rules try and capture the most realistic engagement you can have in a close combat way. All right, so let's start first with the charge action. Now, some of you will have some grief with this because you don't get to adjust or move or do any diddle-daddle. You got to do a straight line charge. The reason for that is probably, about 70 to 80% of your initial game is going to be maneuvering. Maneuver is huge. Fire maneuver in modern combat is basically the primary a form of engagement. Rarely do dudes actually get up on top of each other and start smacking each other with sticks or knives. They're usually shooting each other at point-blank range before that happens, or throwing grenades that actually blow people up, things like that. So what we have here is an opportunity to maneuver first with all your other move actions, hustles, that kind of thing. But when it comes to charging, you get to go in a straight line only. The other thing you got to keep in mind is that you have to come within 1 inch of that target enemy model's base. Within meaning less than. Okay? Not right on, not a little bit past. The base has to be within. Okay? 1 inch. That's how you become engaged. You can move within 1 inch to a model and not engage it in close combat, because in order to engage a model, you have to charge it or it has to charge you. Somebody has had to execute a charge action. This is a moment of intent, whereas the other type can just be, I'm scooting by you as fast as I can, and Bob's your uncle. All right, so in this case, what we're going to start with is we're going to go ahead and have, we're going to have Killjoy do it first. Killjoy is going to declare a charge action against the architect. Is there a break? No, there's not a break. Okay, no break. Now we measure. So we already determined target priority. He's the only target that we've got right now. We'll go back and forth on this. I'll show you both sides of how this works. So he's the only target we've got. And we've got a 10-inch movement rate, which is his charge distance on Killjoy. So he's well within that. And since this is no obstacle, we move him in a direct line to right there. Doesn't even have to touch. Just has to be within 1 inch of his target that he charged. All right, so here we have Killjoy. He's all grumpy looking. And now we're going to go at it. He's going to throw some dice. Okay, now we're engaged, and now we execute this charge action. As you know from reading the rule book or in the model section, we talked about your base close combat attacks is also the base number of dice you throw in defense, and that's equal to your model's base combat rating halved. So since he's a 4 and he's a 5, they're both going to have 2 base combat attack and defense dice. Okay? Now, when 2 models engage, the first thing they do is once they become engaged, they check and compare weapon reach. This only happens when a charger engages a defender or more. Okay, so you could charge in and get 2 defenders on 1 charge. You're going to compare weapon reach with both of them. Weapon reach represents an abstraction of the distance of my weapon and or the ability for me to present my weapon ahead of where that opponent's coming to cause him some difficulty in getting there. So for example, if we had a pikeman being charged by Killjoy, with his 2 daggers, the pikeman's going to be leveling that pike at him on his way up. That's going to make life difficult for him, and it's going to throw him off balance or put him out of position, or he's going to have to knock that damn thing out of line before he can get in and actually do any harm. So weapon reach is what we use to abstract that. If the pike was the weapon of choice, the weapon reach on a pike is 3, versus a dagger, which is wielded by a knife fighter, which is a 1. And what that means is that Killjoy would be coming in at combat half on his attacks for the charge. Okay? So let's just go ahead and compare that real quick. So Killjoy is a knife fighter, and a knife fighter gets a 1 weapon reach, whereas a regular knife has a 0. Well, good old architect here, this apprentice has a knife, so his weapon reach is 0. When you compare weapon reach, if the charger's weapon reach is greater than the defender, then the charger is not at risk. And at risk is in quotes. It's an actual term, label, game state. Okay? If he is less than the weapon reach of the defender, he is combat half for the attack rolls he makes on this charge. All right, so let's just go ahead with the way it's situated here now. We have a 1 versus a 0, so he's not at risk. Well, what is he not at risk for, Bob? Well, let me tell you. He's not at risk of a potential counterattack if he jacks it up on the way in. Okay? Anybody who's done any kind of martial arts training, whether it's armed or unarmed, or has just been in a schoolyard fist fight, will know that if you miss miserably and you put yourself out of position badly enough, the other guy ain't going to wait around for an invitation to smack you. That's the counterattack rule in Scrappers. Okay? So Killjoy's now not at risk of a counterattack, meaning that because his got a better weapon reach, that even if he screws it up, that extra distance he's got, that extra advantage, is going to prevent him from being open to a counterattack. So here we come at, he's got a 5 combat, but he's knife fighter +2. So that means he's going to have a 7 combat, and he's going to have 2 dice. So he's 2 at 7. The architect, as we already know, has a 4 combat. He's got a knife, which is a 0 weapon reach. So nothing really changes for him. He's going to get possibly stabbed to death. But that's what he goes to for his weapon. And he's 2 at 4. So we've got 2 at 7 and 2 at 4. Here's how it shakes out. So we got 2 6s on good old Killjoy. And we got a 1 and a 4 for the apprentice. All right. So we take the highest, of course, from each. So now we've got 4 + 4 is a total result of an 8 on his defense check. And we've got a 6 + 7, which is a total of 13. So 13 to 8 is a 5 difference. Killjoy gets a damage bonus of 5. His knife fighter trait gives his dagger a 1 damage rating. His con is a 5, so he's got a base damage of 6. We add the damage bonus of 5, so now his damage check is 11, versus, as we know, con 4 + 3 tack suit armor is a 7. So we got 11 versus 7 for the damage check. Oh, he stuffed that one up. So, or did he? Let's see. So, what I say, 5 plus, what am I doing here? Yeah, sorry, I just had a brain fart. So 11 + 2 is 13, and 5 + 7 is 12. So, we just managed to shock the architect with his attack, and in doing so, he loses his action token. Alright, that's that. And of course we take off that action token. So that is close combat in a nutshell. Now let's rewind the numbers. Put everything back to normal. Let's see some different outcomes here. Okay? So he just he hops the box, ///. We're doing 2 versus 2. We've got the 7 to the 4. Oh boy. So that's 14 to 14.